Hello and welcome to Wineskins, a program that features the lives of the saints and reflections on the Sunday readings, along with information on a variety of topics and issues from a Catholic perspective. I'm Father Jim Korda. Our program is brought to you through the annual Bishop's Appeal, the Catholic Communication Campaign, and St. Paul's Catholic Books and Gifts, a division of the Society of St. Paul. Our interview segment today will feature Father George Balasko, in part 2 from the series called Spotlight, celebrating the 75th anniversary of the Diocese of Youngtown. We will also get a glimpse into the life and times of St. Agnes, along with reflections on the readings for this feast of the Baptism of the Lord. That and more on Wineskins. And now we will hear about divorce ministry in the Diocese of Youngtown. With me now is Connie from North Canton, and we're going to talk about divorce ministry. Connie, welcome to Wineskins.
Thank you for having me. I'm really happy to be here.
You know, before we started the taping, you and I were just talking about some of the involvement that you've been in with divorce ministry and also some of your story.
Yeah.
And I think what would help the folks that are with us if we could begin with your story and why is divorce ministry so intimately important to you?
Well, you know, it's funny. I've learned to be careful what you ask for. I asked the Lord a long time ago, probably it was 1994, January 18th, had a general confession. That really was my return to the Catholic Church. I went to Catholic schools my whole life, including college in New Orleans. And I said, you know, Lord, tell me where to go, tell me what to do, and I'll do it, but just save me from myself. Because I felt like I was living life on my own terms, and I wanted to now live on His terms. And so I did, and everything changed with that confession. It was beautiful. It was very profound. It was life-changing. Fast forward 20 years or so, I find myself in a situation in a marriage where it was not healthy. It was not sustainable. It was untenable is my word, my diplomatic word. And so divorce came into my life. It was the worst thing that I could imagine. But it was a path I was being asked to walk down and to put one foot in front of the other and just get through it. And so I found myself then, all I wanted to do was to have a little domestic church in my home, metaphorically speaking, have this beautiful Catholic family. I homeschooled for a while. I really wanted a family set apart from the culture in terms of, in a good way. In the world, but not of it, you know. And I found myself with a ministry I never wanted or expected because it's not a sweet, pretty one. It's divorce ministry.
When we talk about divorce, it's something that we don't like to talk about in the Catholic Church because we believe that marriage is lifelong, it's forever.
Right.
But we also know that us humans are not perfect. There are things that happen in our lives and in our relationships that cause us to face reality. Really.
Right.
In your divorce ministry with other folks, what has been the greatest blessing for you in your personal life during this time?
Well, the book is entitled The Catholic's Divorce Survival Guide, and it is a DVD small group discussion program that provides the means for people to come together with folks walking a similar path and talk about things that are truly gut-wrenchingly difficult. And they're not conversation at home across the table. They're not something you want to sit and chat with your friends about. But it's a necessary cathartic, therapeutic, but also spiritually healing time where by the end of the 12-week program, I felt like I could hold my head high and I was not an outsider in the faith. I was simply a wounded Catholic who needed the sacraments. More than ever.
You're going to be back with us next month to talk more specifically about this particular program that you provide for people seeking help in divorce situations. What would you tell those who are going through a divorce right now that might feel alone and lonely and just in need that they need right now?
Right. Yeah, a divorce can push you to the brink or even beyond of sanity, where you feel like you have lost all sense of self and purpose and mission and future and hope. Your family is in shatters. And what I would say is, well, it's like a country song, I think. When you find yourself walking through hell, don't stop walking. Put one foot in front of the other, and you will find that you will not stay in that state of brokenness to that depth. You will get through and beyond. You'll be different, but it won't be the same level of pain. It's like with any trauma, time does heal relationships, friendships, where you can get through to these issues and bring it to God to bring you beyond. That it doesn't stay that way if you put in the work. It is work. It is like any healing program or a therapeutic program. You've got to do the work of healing, which is face the reality and hand it over to Christ. And if you don't have a relationship with Christ yet, consider opening yourself to his intervention in your life.
Well, Connie, we certainly appreciate your presence on Wineskins today. We look forward to you coming back next month to talk a little bit more specifically about this wonderful program that helps to heal some of the pain and the loneliness and hurt that comes with divorce. So thank you very much for being with us.
Thank you so much. It was an honor.
For Wineskins, I'm Father Jim Korda. St. Agnes was a virgin and martyr. To tell us more is Diana Hancharenko. She is the young adult minister at St. Angela Merici Church in Youngtown.
The feast of this young girl, martyred at the age of 12 on January 21st, is attested by the most ancient Roman calendar of the year 354 and the early Roman sacramentaries. It is also mentioned by some of the fathers of the Church. St. Ambrose, who described her martyrdom and wrote a hymn in her honor, along with St. Prudentius, St. Jerome, and St. Augustine. The reasons for the widespread cult in her honor are her extreme youth and her purity, her heroic Christian witness in the midst of terrible torture, and finally her spontaneity in going to her martyrdom with full awareness. The name Agnes in Greek means chaste. Her torture included fire from which she emerged unscathed. In the Greek tradition, since the 5th century, there are some details that do not correspond to the tradition of Pope Damasus and St. Ambrose. This may be due to the confusion between two different martyrs named Agnes. In the 4th century, the daughter of the Emperor Constantine had a basilica built in honor of St. Agnes. Agnes is one of the most illustrious martyrs of the Church, and she is mentioned in both the Roman canon of the Mass and in the Greek calendar of saints. The opening prayer of the Mass states that God chooses what the world considers weak to put the worldly powers to shame. We then ask that we may remain loyal to the faith that Agnes professed. Her steadfast fidelity is exalted by St. Ambrose when he said, "The cruelty that did not spare her youth to bear it witness. She is too young to know of death, yet is ready to face it. She shows herself a master of valor despite the handicap of youth. One victim, but a twin martyrdom to modesty and to religion. Agnes preserved her virginity and gained a martyr's crown." In her vibrant declarations, she said, "I am espoused to him whom the angels serve. For him alone I keep my fidelity intact." We see the model of espousal with Christ that is born of chastity, and not only consecrated chastity, but of all Christians called to tend toward Christ with the same ardor as this young girl. So we read in the Canticle of Mary, "Holy Father, hear me. I am coming to you whom I have loved, whom I have sought and always desired." Virginity of heart is for all Christians, even for those who do not observe bodily virginity. In contemporary society, this witness to a love that transcends age or sex is urgently needed. The opening prayer says, "Almighty eternal God, you choose what the world considers weak to put the worldly powers to shame. May we who celebrate the birth of St. Agnes into eternal joy be loyal to the faith she professed." Her feast is celebrated on January 21st. For Wineskins, I'm Diana Hancharenko.
I'd like to begin this segment, Father George, by reminding the folks that are with us that you and I have a history also. You were ordained in the year you had mentioned. I was in 8th grade at the time. I served your first Mass.
You show up in the pictures.
Yes, and I just remember being with your family during that celebration and what a wonderful time it was. And I think it was an influence on me in my thinking about becoming a priest. So I want to thank you for that.
Well, that's how God's grace works. It wasn't my doing. Yeah.
The other thing that I remember as a young priest, that You were considered the adult education specialist in the diocese. So when we ended our first segment, you were talking about adult education and how important that is, not only in the diocese, but in the church in general. But then you became very instrumental in Jewish-Christian dialogue. So let's talk about that during this time together. When did you actually begin that? When did you initiate that?
I probably started with St. Joe's in Alliance, Ohio. I think I scheduled a Seder meal and talked to the Jewish community in Canton. And they came to a Presbyterian church, I think. But it's not strongly yet, In fact, I went to go down to see Father Maley to how to deal with Jewish Christian studies. And he says, George, he said, the best thing you can do is try to make them, let them be the best Jew that they can be. So he's already implementing Nostra Aetate right after Vatican Council II, and that's in the back of my head, that I'm not there to convert them. But it all happened at St. Pat's in Hubbard.
Okay.
They have a very holy day that they call a festival. And they had to park my car in front of the old church, and somebody went through the red light and wiped me out. I was scheduled at Youngstown State University to talk on death and dying because my dad had just passed, and we used the new burial rite from the Vatican Council II, which was a little bit different than the old way. And so basically Sister Susan Shorston, who was head of the St. Elizabeth's Hospital, was running a course at Youngstown State on death and dying. So she invited me to come in with the new burial rite. Rabbi Meyer was called in from the Jewish community, who was Temple Alamet from the north side of Youngstown. Protestant minister was invited, but he didn't show up. So basically, Sister said, I could take you there, but I can't pick you up. So after we did our course and met Rabbi Meyer, being the Protestant minister was there, we got together, we made up what the Protestants do with burial rites. And so he says, I need a ride back to Hubbard. And he says, I live in Liberty. And so basically he took me home. And when we were talking on the way back, we started to decide, maybe, let's get together. We can do some things together. He said, well, come up and see me. And that was how I met Rabbi Meyer. And that's 44 years ago. We're coming up to 45 years of that.
And tell us about the experience of Jewish-Christian dialogue. We know that you had gone to several parishes around the diocese where you had gatherings of folks that became very interested and your faithful followers in understanding Jewish-Christian relations. But then you also had an opportunity to take those groups to Israel. Talk about some of that experience of traveling in the Holy Land.
Basically, we have to touch another, Monsignor Gino Baroni, who came into the diocese, and he brought to our minds that you have to understand your own culture before you can understand other people's culture. So when I started to appreciate that, as we look at the black community, then what was it like when Jesus was growing up? He's not Croatian, he's not Italian, he's Jewish, is Jewish, okay? So basically, I started to reflect on that. And so basically, when Rabbi Meyer and I got together and started we first called it Jewish Christian Studies, dialogue. Now it's called Jewish Christian Studies, because we can go deeper than this in the sense of just not surface goody-good type things, okay? Sure. And so basically, when I met him, like 44 years ago, the next year, 1976, we took our first trip to Israel as a Jewish Christian group. And I remember, I think maybe in our second trip, the guide said to me, pulled me aside and said, Father, he says, if you come alone, I can do more with you in the sense of taking to different places. And I said to myself, yeah, then we're going to lose out 1/3 of the trip because basically we won't be going to the Jewish. Sure. And so with that, we did 4 trips to Israel, and we did 1 trip to Rome and Italy in the sense with Jewish Christian Studies. And the groups were around 40, and they were mixed. They were not only Catholics and Jews, but they also had some Protestants that would join in these tours. So again, that'd be another program to go through all those tours, because we did the program here on Jewish Christian dialogue here for many years at CTNY.
Let's talk historically in the last few minutes of our middle segment of the impact of Nostra Aetate in the church and also in interfaith relations and dialogue and studies. How important has that been, and how do we continue historically to do that?
Well, basically, again, I had to go back to Father Maley, who was our scripture scholar at Mount St. Mary's, and I think you had him.
I did.
And just that input that he put in my head, We're not here to convert the Jewish community. We're asked to make them the best Jew that they can be. So Nostra Aetate was the linchpin in the sense of that document. And it was later in the Vatican Council II that document came out. We just celebrated 50 years of that document. And so now how do I continue to implement that? I have a little card now that I'm retired, implementing Vatican Council II Nostra Aetate. So what we have decided to do now that I'm living at the villa in Pennsylvania, Villa Maria, I do have a program called Nostra Aetate. We're remembering that document and bringing in speakers as a memorial in the sense because the Jewish community honored me with the Guardian of the Menorah, and I promised them that I would continue to teach Nostra Aetate because of their honoring me of the Guardian of the Menorah. And so that's what the program is, and we have that every year. Now we're into our 5th year of speakers coming in to talk about the history of the Jewish community and how it affects Christianity even to this day. In fact, Lord Schiffman is coming in this year, and he's going to be speaking about 70 years of the country of Israel when it was reestablished, and also 71 years of finding the Dead Sea Scrolls. And so basically, that's my gift to the Jewish community and for us to understand ourselves.
For more information on that topic and other related issues, and to listen to Wineskins, visit the website of the Catholic Diocese of Youngtown at www.doi.org. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
January is Poverty Awareness Month. What does it mean to live in poverty? It means swallowing your pride when asked why you just don't move to a better apartment or get your kids' teeth fixed or 100 other things that cost money you just don't have. It's feeling hopeless because people who have better lives are convinced you did something to deserve your poverty. It also means getting assistance with clothing, food, shelter, and other basic needs. Heat during the winter season is one of those needs. Last year, Catholic Charities impacted 5,733 people through its utility assistance efforts. This urgent need for heat and utility assistance continues to rise. Keep the Kids Warm helps Catholic Charities provide direct utility assistance to families with children. Please support your parish collection for Keep the Kids Warm this year. For more information, visit www.ccdoi.org or call Catholic Charities at 330-744-8451.
In 1850, a Catholic mission was established in Connies, making it the first organized Catholic presence in Ashtabula County. It wouldn't be until 1864 that an actual building was purchased to serve St. Mary Church. 8 years before the construction of St. Mary's Parish Church, St. Joseph Church in the city of Ashtabula was established. Parishes in Connies have aligned under the title of Corpus Christi Parish, and in the city of Ashtabula as Our Lady of Peace Parish. There are 11 other parishes in that county that serve over 20,000 Catholics. Congratulations, Catholic Diocese, for celebrating 75 years with pride in the past and faith in the future.
The Johnsons enjoy Friday dinners out. Nothing fancy, just time together to reconnect as family. They make sure others eat as well. By giving to Catholic Charities of Youngtown, the Johnsons join other angels who care for those in need, regardless of religion or race. Show your wings with a gift to Catholic Charities, changing lives one family at a time, providing housing, emergency financial assistance, senior services, and more. Give now at ccdoi.org.
33 million Americans have descended into poverty. And as their futures fall, so does our nation's.
Our song today is from the CD entitled Classic Hymns. It is by the students of Wyoming Catholic College. Our scripture reflection for this feast of the baptism of the Lord will be done by Father Jim McKarns. He is pastor emeritus of St. Paul Church in North Canton.
The day we were born is a date which is embedded in our minds. We celebrate our birthday because being born is a big event. Now there's another birthday date that perhaps we don't remember and don't celebrate. That date, like your birthday, is a significant date, which would be good to celebrate. That is the day you were born again. That means we were baptized. The biblical term to be born again means baptism. Some people refer to being born again as some type of emotional accepting of Jesus as a change of life. But that event could better be referred to as a type of conversion. However, when Jesus spoke to Nicodemus about being born again, he said one is to be born by water and the Spirit. When we were born physically, we joined our small human family. On the day we were born again in baptism, we joined the worldwide family of all the believers of Jesus. That is our spiritual family, the communion of saints. In our birth, we acquired a last name or a surname. With baptism, however, the emphasis is on our first name to honor a saint as a model for our life. In today's gospel, we again read of the story of Jesus being baptized by John in the Jordan River. John later acquired the name the Baptist because he baptized so many, but especially because of his famous candidate. Jesus stepped into his public ministry through the waters of baptism. It was a major event in his life. The Greek word bapto means dip or immerse. That's what John did for Jesus. In October 2002, St. Pope John Paul II published a document stating he felt there should be some events in the life of Jesus which needed to be more emphasized. So he listed 5 of them and added them to the Rosary under the title of the Luminous Mysteries. The first luminous mystery is the baptism of Jesus. The last thing Jesus told his apostles was to go out and make disciples of all nations, baptizing them in the name of the Father and of the Son and of the Holy Spirit. If you don't have a baptismal certificate, you should get a copy. Just contact the church where the ceremony took place. The information is recorded in the baptismal book, and the parish will be happy to send you a copy. Put it in a frame, display it on a wall in your home. It will remind you of when you were born again to join the universal Christian family. It's your passport to cross the border into another world. For Wineskins, I'm Father Jim McKarns.
Jesus loves us for who we are, not for what we do or for who others think we are. Listen for the right voice. Do you hear it? God is saying, "You are my beloved daughter. You are my beloved son. With you I am well pleased." Wineskins is made possible by the annual Bishop's Appeal, the Catholic Communication Campaign, and St. Paul's Catholic Books and Gifts. Wineskins is produced by CTNY, the Catholic Telecommunications Network of Youngstown. I'm Father Jim Korda, thanking you for being with us. Have a blessed Sunday, and may God be with you.
What have you done for your marriage today?
I gave my wife a hug this morning. I told her I love her.
I did her hair this morning. I think it looks pretty good.
I cooked my husband's favorite breakfast.
I bought her an orchid.
What have I done for my marriage today? I sent my husband a love email.
I read the newspaper to my wife, and it cracked her up. But she's still laughing.
What have you done for your marriage today? Make a change for the better. Need help? Go to foryourmarriage.org, a message from the Catholic Church.
They say America is the land of opportunity, but for some, life isn't so easy. Right now in America, 1 in 6 children lives below the poverty line. That's nearly 13 million children of all races, all across our country. Where do you draw the line and get involved? You can make a difference in more ways than you think. Go to povertyusa.org today, because 1 in 6 children in poverty is one too many. A message from the Catholic Campaign for Human Development.